than you think it is. If you really dislike what Tucker Carlson is doing, every single time he says something, you all share 1,000 clips of him. There's 1 million clips that come out. Look what he said. Like, okay, well, you just boosted him in the algorithm by 1,000%. Well done. Like, it's such a foolish notion to try and convince anybody in an American male, like just a red-blooded American male, to say, you can't talk about that and stop talking about that, and if you do, we're going to come after you. The response is going to be the same every single time. Screw you. I'm going to talk about it more. Okay? I'm going to talk about it way more now. I'm going to talk about it every day, and everything you don't want me to do, I'm going to go do it. Like, I mean, like, it's in a stupid concept to trying to convince people not to talk about things. You're not going to convince them to do that.
Message to hold in your hearts today, it's this: never, ever give up.
FBI raid at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence.
Deadly force being authorized.
Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy.
Donald J. Trump has been indicted.
Jack Smith has again indicted former President Trump.
Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve. Like they said, take a look at what happened. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong.
CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world. 250 million Americans are not garbage. And it'll make a real and lasting difference. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward.
I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
So just remember that. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. America is beginning a new chapter. Our best days are yet to come. I can promise you that.
There's a rumble in the distance, something stirring up the ground. Coffee shops and corner stores, people talking all around. But the words they're speaking softly got a weight that pulls you down. Something's moving through the grapevine, word by word from town to town. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who do you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Backroom deals and handshake promises sliding underneath the door. Politicians playing poker with the chips are rich and poor. Every word's a calculation, every pause worth so much more. While the people keep on waiting for the truth they're hungry for. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who do you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? sound like strangers in the booth. We're all just trying to listen to the static and the noise, but the loudest information drowns out the quieter voice. Who do you trust when the talk is low? Who you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Who you trust? Tell me, who do you trust? Who you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust when the whispers grow?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Political Theater, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I'm Walter Kurt, your host. I've got a big show for you this evening, guys. We are heading into the week of AmFest. So tomorrow afternoon, I will be flying out, and I will be in Phoenix. I'll be landing sometime tomorrow. Looks like I'll be out there sometime in the middle of the afternoon, so I should be all checked in for all that. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to manage to do the show tomorrow because of the flight. So if I have to move some stuff around and see if I can do an hour at some point in the middle of the afternoon, that's probably what I'll do. But in terms of the rest of the show and whatever else we're doing here, guys, make sure you guys share the link out. Let people know that we are live and ready to go here. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Big show, lots to go on. Obviously, the number one story right now, Dan Bongino has announced that he is indeed leaving the FBI. Now, a lot of people are upset about this or wondering if it's a bad thing. You know, at the same time, I don't know if it's really worth being upset about it or even, really, to me, Dan Bongino gave up everything, a huge show, millions of followers, a multi-million-dollar contract, all sorts of different things that he had to give up to be even do this. And he gave a full year in it. And, if he wants to go back to his life, then, you can't blame the guy for, putting a full year of his life into this. He didn't have to do any of this. He didn't have to do any of it. He never had to be part of this in the first place, but he did. Okay, so he did do it. He was there for a full year. And to be honest with you, I just want to say thank him for his service. That's the only thing I have to say about it. Whatever he did, whatever he managed to do, however he managed to do it, if it was good, if it was bad, I don't know. And maybe we'll get to hear all about it soon enough. I'm sure we will get to hear all about it. And I expect that if this does happen, when he does leave, as he has said he is, that his show will be back soon enough. And that show itself will break the internet entirely. So we'll talk about that tonight. We'll talk about a bit of what they managed to accomplish this year at the FBI. Obviously, I'm not happy with a lot of the things going on at the FBI. So we've got some stuff we can go over on that. We've also got some interesting stuff, some developments or non-developments, really, out of the Brown case, seeing how we still don't have a name. But we do have some photos and stuff we can talk about. There's also some new stuff that came out today from the House. The House has now passed the bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene brought forward, which is the Children Protections Act that is going to be banning transgender hormones for minors, which is something that has been, an agenda item for President Trump. So that's good that moved through the House. That's fantastic. Now it needs to go through the Senate. And, it's amazing to me that not every Republican voted for this bill. That's really amazing to me. How is that not a unanimous bill? How is it not? I don't understand how it's not a unanimous bill. It should have been unanimous, should have passed with flying colors. But every Democrat voted against it, along with a number of other Republicans voted against it as well, which is just a travesty. I mean, if you're a Republican and you voted against this, that's going to be a nail in the coffin for any primary challenger for you. That is insane that any Republican voted against it. But the Senate, obviously, we'll see if it manages to go through the Senate. If the Democrats don't vote on unison on it, if they vote in unison on it, then it won't pass the Senate. And we can't apparently manage to do anything because we still let them filibuster everything. So if they don't manage to get the votes in the Senate, I don't know, guys. I'm not too confident that it'll pass in the Senate. We'll see, though. But if it does, then that'd be another accomplishment for President Trump legislative-wise. But we'll talk about a little bit more of that. And then we'll also go through, there is the Venezuela War Powers Act that was trying to be pushed through the House that failed. which means that that doesn't restrict any of the movements of the Trump administration for what they're about to do in Venezuela or what they have been doing in Venezuela, which is good. So that's good news. There's a couple of other big stories that came out today, so we'll talk about all of that and more today. So thank you guys for tuning in this evening. This is the Political Theater. If you guys are tuning in on the X space, make sure you guys share the link out. If you guys are tuning in on any of the other platforms, Rumble, YouTube, Substack, wherever you guys may be tuning in this evening, make sure you guys share the link out, let people know we are live. So the first, obviously, the big story, we'll talk about a little bit more about Dan Bongino and his tenure at the FBI. You know, I was wondering, there's been stories and rumors about him. He's going to make his decision whether he wants to be part of the FBI anymore. These rumors have been swirling almost the entire year. Now, yesterday, if you were in here, there's a couple people that came up and said they had sources said that he really is thinking about it this time, and it turns out those sources were correct. So it looks like Dan Bongino is indeed moving out of the FBI. And this was President Trump's statement on this earlier today. So we'll go ahead and play this here. So this is President Trump on Dan Bongino moving out of the FBI. Let me pull this up here. Got to get a share screen here. So there we go. Okay, so this was Bongino. This is President Trump taking on this earlier. Oh, hold on just a second there. It's way too loud. There we go. Okay, so this is President Trump earlier today. So just a couple second clip here.
Oh, Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. Yeah, I do.
So that's it. I mean, it's not really much of a statement or anything. He just says, I just think he wants to go back to his show, which I don't have any problem with that, to be honest with you. You know, I'd like to say that Dan should stick around and whatnot, but at the same time, I don't expect him to stay the entire time. In fact, I don't expect a lot of the people in the Trump administration to stick around. This is something that I've said consistently since this began. The guys, all of the people in the Trump administration, one, to work for President Trump is very difficult. Okay, he expects a lot from the people that work for him. That you have to do long hours. You've got to be always on your toes. You've always got something happening that you have to take care of. I don't expect that a lot of these people that are in the first year of this, I expect that we'll see a big shuffle. Now, there's some people that I would like to see gone. We'll see if they actually do leave. You know, the term, what's going on at the FBI, people can be mad about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino all they want. I still think that Dan Bongino has, you know, he gave up a year of his life to do this, so I'm not upset about Bongino at all. Kash Patel, on the other hand, I'm not, you know, he's made some very bad PR moves this year that I did not think were very good. So Kash is, I think, in a worse position than Dan Bongino was. But all of it at the end of the day lands at the feet of the DOJ, which is Pam Bondi. And Pam Bondi, I don't think anybody can even remotely argue that she has done a great job this whole time. I think she has been pretty much one of the weakest members in the entire administration by far and away. Not like I don't even think it's a close second. I think she has been a huge problem for most of the year. I don't think she has managed to do pretty much anything PR-wise that was intelligent. So I'm not a huge fan of Pam Bondi at all. I hope that she is one of the people that does end up getting rotated out. That would be much better. I think that would be a huge benefit if we managed to move Pam Bondi out. But we'll see if anything happens. You know, I do have other sources that are telling me that there are going to be more people that are moved out of the administration, that there's going to be more of a shuffle happening. And I expect that. Okay. I mean, I don't expect everybody to stick around. There were some rumors that swirled a little bit a couple weeks ago about Kristi Noem moving out of the administration. I haven't heard any updates on that, whether or not that's true or not. I don't know. But I do expect a number of big people in the administration to be moved out. You have to remember what Trump did in his first term. His first term, he did have quite a few people that shifted out of the administration. They didn't all stick around forever. Lots of them ended up moving on. Lots of them ended up going into different things. And a lot of them were fired just generally. So I haven't seen what the status of that's going to be. But I expect as you get into the end of this, you're going to come to the beginning of next year, you'll see some people shifted around. You'll see some people get fired. You'll see some people get moved out. And some people just move on. I mean, to work in the President Trump administration has to be very, very stressful to begin with. And it's not cut out for everybody. So I don't expect everybody that we saw in the original team to stay through the entire administration. We'll see who gets moved around and who comes in. I think that's going to be the more interesting question, what happens. You know, there's a number of people that are going to kind of be up for this sort of thing. Glenn Youngkin would be one of those people that I'm very interested in by. I think that it's possible Glenn Youngkin could see somewhere in the administration. I don't know where he would be because as far as I'm aware, I don't know if he wants to run for Senate. He might, but I don't think so. I'm not sure he would want to run for Senate. Maybe. That would be a big question in my eyes if Glenn Youngkin wants to do that. I don't think he would. We'll see where it happens with that. But I think that it's much more likely that he ends up somewhere in the place of the administration. A question whether or not you think he would replace Kristi Noem. I don't know if he would want to replace. Does he want to be DHS secretary? I'm not sure. I think I could see Glenn Youngkin somewhere in the administration, but I don't know if it would be for that. You know, there's a number of places that he could end up. Glenn Youngkin could do pretty much any position, so I'm not really sure where he would land. But I expect that I don't think he wants to run for Senate, and I don't blame him. You know, we'll see if that materializes or not. If he was, he would be the only person I think they might have a chance beating Warner. That would be a very tight race, and that'd be a very expensive race. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything about a declaration that he intends to run or anything. And as far as I'm aware, it doesn't sound like he wants to at all. So we'll hear more about that, and we'll hear about who else gets shifted around to the administration and what happens as we end the year out here. So we'll find out eventually. But we do know for a fact now that Dan Bongino is indeed out, that he is going to end at the beginning of the year. So he gave a full year into this, and now he's leaving. And it sounds to me like it's a personal thing, not really directly related to the administration. There's some statements that came out talking about his wife, that she's not happy with the way that this is working because of the long hours that he's putting in, the amount of pressure it's putting on them as a family, which it has to be very difficult to work in this administration. So I don't really expect that somebody that, if they have the option, they put in the time, they put in a full year, maybe they'll move on to something else. Now, people are going to be, I said that it's going to be a big deal when he goes on to a show again, and a bunch of people are immediately blasting Dan. Guys, I don't think you can put any of the failures of the FBI and the DOJ generally on Dan Bongino, of all people. You're talking about a massive institution that is terrible and corrupt and always has been. So I don't really blame Dan for much of that. So we'll have to see what he does when he comes back, but I assume he will have his show back soon. So we'll get to hear Dan Bongino on the mic again, which I'm excited for. And I always used to like Dan's show. I didn't listen every single day, but I did like his show. So I'd be very interested to see what he has to say. And I'm sure he has a huge take on pretty much everything that's going on in the news today. So looking forward to see what happens with Dan Bongino making it back into the political commentary realm. So let's go over to what's going on at Brown University. We still, as of now, do they even have a name? Anything? Nothing, as far as I'm aware, right? I mean, unless something happened over the past couple hours, as far as I'm aware, they don't have a name. If someone wants to correct me here, I'll go double check and make sure that I'm not wrong, because I was just at a meeting for the past couple hours. So let me look and see if there's been any real update on this, but I don't think so, because as far as I'm aware, the only thing we have so far is we've got some updates on some photos, but we do not have anything in terms of, who the person is, the name. There was another face that was released earlier today. There's another, image of a person of interest. And those are the people that, they keep talking about this. This is also something else. I forgot about this. There's apparently text messages have surfaced from other members of the Republican groups saying that they were being threatened. And there's also a statement that I found that someone sent this, a friend of mine that is actually on the ground at Brown, said that he has, he talked to a student, and the student said that the day before the shooting happened, there was an actual, a fugitive task force unit that was right near Brown's campus that detained somebody and then ended up releasing them. Now, the language is what I was very curious by there, because they said fugitive task force. Okay, so if you guys don't know what a fugitive task force is, that is the U.S. Marshals. Okay, that's like a very, very specific version and very specific division within the U.S. Marshals. Why exactly would a fugitive task force unit be sitting around Brown University, of all places? That's a very odd thing. That's not a normal thing. And the fact that no one talked about it in the media is even more strange. The fact that they haven't brought it up in any of the press conferences, they haven't mentioned this at all. But apparently, the day before the shooting, there was somebody that was detained, and they mentioned in the community, and they said, well, what's going on here? And then they put out an alert to all the students saying this happened. And then there was an update saying, well, yeah, we figured out that it was they confirmed, their police department confirmed that it was a member of the fugitive task force unit. And that's it. There's no information outside of that. What the hell were they doing there? Why were they there? What are they doing there? Why are they talking to him? These people don't just show up randomly, okay? Like, a fugitive task force unit is, again, a part of the U.S. Marshals. The only reason they show up anywhere is because they have a warrant for somebody that's of high risk, and they're deployed to go find them. So Why exactly does no one have any information on this guy? Who is it? What were they there for? And why is it not relevant to what's going on? I mean, why is that not relevant at all? I mean, I would think that that's a reasonably important thing. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see how in any way that a fugitive task force unit is deployed next to some Ivy League school. They nearly arrest somebody the day before the shooting, and then a shooting happens 24 hours later, and they don't mention it. What the hell's happening? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that creates problems and creates conspiracy around the entire scenario. I mean, and why can you really blame anybody at this point? They appear to be completely clueless. Their investigation is all over the place. They don't have any information. They keep releasing new things, and they still don't have a name. They don't have a motive. They don't have any video footage. There's now another bit of information that just came out saying there might be a scandal about whether or not they were intentionally removing cameras or taking cameras down to help illegal aliens. That's a news story that just came out. If that's true, I don't know. There's a radio host that apparently just mentioned that just recently. So that's some new information that I hadn't heard yet. But if that's true, these people are, they are complicit in this entire event then. But, it continues to be, the most insane incompetence we've ever seen. So if there's more updates on that, obviously we'll talk about this through the show. But then the other thing we can talk about, obviously, is that AmFest is about to begin. So AmFest, I'm looking forward to that. If you guys are going to be at AmFest, if you guys would like to meet me and you want to hang out, and while you're there, let me know. I would love to meet you guys. I'd love to go and hang out while I'm there. I'm going to be there the entire time. I should show up sometime in the middle of the afternoon tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it. This will be the first AmFest. Actually, it'd be the first Turning Point event I've ever attended. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good time. I know I've got a lot of friends that are going to be there. But if any of the people that are at the show or listening to the show, if you guys are going to be there, let me know. I'd love to hang out. I'd love to see you guys. So that would be, I'm looking forward to this entire trip. So I'll let you guys know sometime tomorrow how I'm doing the show, because I have no idea what my schedule is going to be like, because I've been trying to figure out the actual schedule for the events. And I don't really, there's not really that much information published that I can find. I've got a couple things that I know I'm supposed to go to, but outside of that, I don't know where everything is. So I'll figure that out. But I'm looking forward to it regardless, because should be a big year. This is going to be a very interesting event, because obviously, this is, Charlie Kirk's event. This is supposed to be his big thing that he did every year. This will be the first one without him. So this is, it should be, my guess is it'll be a pretty emotional event from some of the speakers. My guess is that what I'm really hoping for, though, is that it is a true show of unity would be nice. If we could end the year on a real note of unity from the right, all meeting together, all having one big event, I think that would be fantastic. That would be great. And I think that that's possible. I hope that everyone treats it like that, because we really need to get focused as we come into the new year. There's some shifts and things happening now that are going to make that possible. I'm hearing a word that Elon is starting to fund some of these primary challenges. I'm hearing that Elon is starting to move into the Senate races, how he's going to fund them, what he's going to do with it. That's all happening now. So I'm hoping that we come out of AmFest and we start to get focused again, and we really start to move forward, because we really need to. We can't screw around, because if we continue to have this fight that we've been having over the past 6 months, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. And if you haven't noticed, it seems to me that the Congress itself is already being difficult enough. I can't imagine how much worse it would be if the Democrats managed to get back in control. Excuse me. So hopefully we manage to come out of AmFest and we actually have a little bit of focus, a little bit of unity, so we can actually get focused again heading into this year, because this is going to be a big year, guys. If we do not maintain the House and do not maintain the Senate, maintaining the House is going to be very, very difficult. Maintaining the Senate should be easier, but it is possible that we may not hold the Senate either, and we definitely won't if we can't stay focused. So I hope everybody is getting involved as much as they can. As we get into the new year, like I said before, I'm going to have a pretty, there's some big things that are going to be changing for me. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on this stuff. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on activism, and I'll be talking about that a lot more. Make sure you guys check out WCDispatch.com, all of the new announcements, or if you subscribe to me here on X, you can get some of that information to what I'm talking about, how things are going to change, what I should be up to. There's also a possibility I might be writing for another company here. Online. So that'll be there's a lot of things changing. So, as I come into the new year, I'm going to have a lot of new content that's going to be coming out, a lot of new investigation stuff, a lot of new activism initiatives that I'm going to be part of. And I'll bring that information out, as I get more information, more flushed out. And hopefully after AmFest, I should have a lot more information, detailed information on how I'm going to do some of this stuff. I think one of the first places I'll be stopping is Indiana. Now, I almost want to just fly over to Rhode Island, though, and see what the hell is happening over there, because it continues to be such a debacle that it just baffles the mind. But, that we'll see what if there's any new updates on that. Hopefully they managed to catch this guy. I mean, the fact that we still haven't caught a killer after almost a week has that ever happened? When's the last time we had a mass shooting event where they didn't catch the guy in like a week? Is that, like, seriously, and when has that happened? Anybody have any idea? I don't. I mean, I've got no clue when the last time that ever happened. So, I guess we'll find out if they manage to even have a name for us by the end of this week. But, it appears to me that there's nothing has been changing so far. Anyway, but we'll get into the show, guys. I appreciate everyone who showed up here this evening. Make sure you guys, if you guys are on the X space, you guys are welcome to come up here and join the show and chime in and talk if you'd like to. You can ask me questions, or you can chime in on any news stories you'd like to bring up. All you have to do is go to x.com and request on the space, and you can come up and join the show. If you guys are following on any of the other spaces or any of the other platforms, you can always leave a comment in those platforms, and I'll be able to put your comment up on the screen or respond to it directly. So I always try to make sure that the audience is involved as much as possible. So if you guys would like to join the show or you want to make comments, you guys are welcome to do so. And I always try to read the comments no matter where they are, even if they're in the X space. It is a lot of screens, but I do try to manage to all of them together. So I appreciate everybody who shows up here. So outside of this, I guess I really want to think, what do you think the result of Dan Bongino leaving? What is this going to do to the FBI? What are they going to do? Do you think Andrew Bailey is going to take over as the deputy director? That was a theory that was floated a couple months ago. Now, I don't know if Andrew Bailey would be somebody that I would want at the FBI director level. I think I'd rather him be in the DOJ, in Pam Bondi's spot, is where I'd much prefer Andrew Bailey. And the strange thing is that I haven't heard much from Andrew Bailey. I haven't heard a whole lot from him since he got into his position there, which is usually a good thing if they're working and they've got a bunch of big cases that they're working on. And there has been a bunch of stuff that they have, they've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I know that people are focused on the accountability aspect for the previous, administration and whatnot, but that you have to remember that the FBI does have a job. They do have something that they're supposed to do and they weren't doing, like foiling terrorism plots like they just did with this Turtle Island Liberation Front. They do have a real job, and they have been busting drug dealers across the country along with all of these Medicaid frauds and all sorts of other things. So they are doing things. So anybody who says that they're not doing things you're just being dishonest. There are more things that I think are very important that needed to be done from the FBI, but to claim that they're not having any success is just not true. There's a twofold way that they have to manage to rebuild the credibility in the FBI. And that would be, one, you have to have accountability for the previous things that happened. But two, you also have to actually do the job that you're supposed to do, which is bust drug dealers, criminals, terrorists, all of those people. You have to do both. And they have managed to do one part of that. They just haven't delivered on the other part of that. So, if we manage to actually see some accountability coming out in the next year, that would be great for the corrupt individuals and the corrupt actions of the previous administration. But so far, we haven't got there yet. But we do have them actually moving forward on drug busts. We do have them moving forward on, terrorism busts. So that's all good things. But again, I would say that the FBI's credibility is still not even remotely high because people are not happy. And it's not going to be fixed until you manage to actually get across some of this accountability. There has to be people that go to prison for the previous actions. That's the only way you'll get it back. Jack Tron, you joined the show. What's up?
Hey, so I was just gonna say, great that you're touching on the topic. I am saying that if we want accountability, we have to demand it. We should hold rallies outside the DOJ demanding that people go to prison.
Yeah, I know, but listen to me. What is outside of the DOJ? What, in DC? Is that your intention? I mean, trying to get people to show up for a protest is hard enough, but you don't even know what we're protesting for. Accountability for the corrupt individuals that we already know the names of. I mean, that's trying to get pressure put on them would be great. I agree with that, but you have to figure out a way to do it, and it would have to be something consistent enough that it actually works. And unfortunately, the people on the right. This is something we've never been able to do. We don't have the ability to just show up and camp outside of the DOJ for a week. Everybody has jobs. So that's not something that can be done. The only way you're really going to be able to force this stuff to happen is you're going to have to push. But, I think the real only way would be to do via, online pressure would be a much better way to do it if you can continue to go after them. But, it seems to me that it's very difficult to get pressure to moving because everyone's fighting online all the time. So, I don't know how you fix that problem. That needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed. But now we're getting Dan Bongino out. And, I'll say one thing. I definitely trusted Dan Bongino more than pretty much anybody else in the FBI. So that's not a great thing that he's leaving if we were hoping for accountability in this. It's not a great thing. But we have to have something that happens in the next year. If something doesn't happen in the next year, we are not going to be able to succeed in the midterms because something must be done. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, if we want to get like the protests, I mean, one idea is that we get like TPUSA can get like students to protest because they're students, they don't have jobs yet.
Well, but the problem you have is trying to get people on the right to protest against our own administration is kind of the problem. Really, that's kind of the problem. It's you have to figure out a way to work this because who are you really protesting against? I mean, you're protesting for accountability, but who are you going against? Are you going against, Pam Bondi, or are you going against Kash Patel? And where exactly are you just going to go hold a protest outside of their office? I mean, I don't know. And to me, again, it seems difficult to be able to pull a protest off in the first place. I think something has to happen where people just can't put up with it anymore. They have to start demanding more from these people. But Pam Bondi, I mean, as far as I can tell, she has just been useless from the beginning. She hasn't accomplished. The only thing she's managed to accomplish is to stop the courts constantly that have been trying to shut down the entire agenda the entire time, which is good. That's a good thing. But, the bare minimum is not what I'm looking for. That's, I guess, the problem I have, really. I'm not looking for bare minimum. I'm looking for action that has to be accomplished for us to be able to even consider the country moving in the right direction. So I don't know. I think the only thing is the leadership needs to have a shakeup. And I think I've, pretty much cast the chips that Pam Bondi needs to go. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Chris, how are you?
No disagreement from me.
What's up, Chris?
Hey, not much. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think that going into the midterms, accountability has to be had. People want to see justice served to people who, let's just call it what it is, to Democrats who manipulated the law and abused their power, and a government that abused their power. I mean, probable cause is a very basic criminal justice 101 thing, and to see these things constantly coming out and no one held accountable is very frustrating, obviously. And I think that, like, yeah, Pam Bondi has done a great job at going into the courts and trying her best to stop these crazy judges, I should call them activated judges. They're not even activists, they're activated judges who are intentionally subduing this administration and overreaching their power in the judiciary. But it's almost a little bit like whack-a-mole at this point, right? Because every time she tries to stop one, another one hops in, and another one hops in, and then it goes back to the same one. You know what I mean? And so it's just whack-a-mole. And so I think that there needs to be someone in the DOJ that goes on the offensive and is extremely aggressive in their messaging, starts demanding that these judges get held accountable, or someone in the Republican Party. I mean, obviously Eric Schmidt in the United States Senate from Missouri has helped push this, where he's starting to call for accountability on some of these judges, like Boasberg, for example. So something has to change. There has to be on offense, and it has to be aggressive, and it has to be quick.
I agree. I mean, and this is the deal. I think the biggest pressure point that we could push forward, to be honest with you, is actually is in Congress. These people, they need to be made to feel the pressure, and those people you can pressure. When you're a DOJ official and you can't really get fired, I mean, what's the pressure really to bring on them? It's not really that helpful. But if you go after people in Congress and start embarrassing them on a regular basis, they're accountable to voters. Okay, that's a pressure point that I think we should exploit. And I've been talking about that for months. Okay, I was talking about that 6 months ago. I said we needed to start a little pack of some kind, and see if we could get some funding on it and do some grassroots pressure campaigns against these people. Because Chris, you and I have talked about this extensively. I think that that's the best way. If we put real pressure on these people, embarrass these people on a regular basis, that I think is a much better format than trying to, say the people in the DOJ need to be fired or Pam Bondi needs to be fired. Now, go after the people that you can actually fire yourself, which would be Congress people. I think that's a better option. And I think that's a better way to do it.
I think sometimes people hear Congress is like, we're talking about 497 or however many members of Congress. Like, you're talking about a vast amount of people here. But the truth of the matter is, we're really only talking about 15, 10. You know what I mean? Because those are the ones that make the difference. I said in a space yesterday, and I mean, I'm sorry, on your show yesterday, Walter, that it just takes one vote, 51 votes. That's all it takes. I'm sorry, a simple majority in a plus one vote in Congress, whatever that total is, just one more vote. That's all it is. And they can forward the impeachment proceedings for any one of these judges. Just one vote determines whether they can get rid of the DC circuit. So there's a lot of power and precedence, quite frankly, that Congress has utilized in the past, but it's just one vote. Now, will Boasberg get the 60% or whatever it is to be impeached in the United States Senate? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, because they're kind of worthless. But the point is not that he's going to get thrown out. It's to put him on notice that you were just referred to for impeachment. And according to the Democrats, that means you're impeached. Right?
Well, and that's the big thing to me. Like, the one thing I guess I don't understand is, why on earth haven't we made these people, like the Democrats, every day it seems like the Democrats come out here and they say we're filing articles of impeachments against Robert F. Kennedy. We're filing articles of impeachments against Hegseth. We're filing articles of impeachment. They're impeaching the entire administration every day. They're trying to, at least, and they make a big media spectacle about it every time. Why aren't we doing that? Like, why not? Like, I don't understand. If even if we're not going to get the votes, embarrass these people. Make people know who they are. People don't know who these judges are. Make sure every one of these judges, every time they bring a ridiculous impeachment thing, you say, like, in some ridiculous, the claim that Trump can't do anything. He's not allowed. Well, every time you do that, you should be impeached. Even if it doesn't do anything, even if it doesn't pass in the House, do it anyway. It should happen every single time, and there should be a big media spin about it every single time. That's what should happen. I mean, I don't understand why we're not. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, process the living heck out of these people. Make them pay for their legal defense. Make them pay for their words. Make them pay for their actions. Even if that means at the end of the day, an activist, judge throws it out and then says you got to, bleach bit and completely erase all the evidence that you have on them, except you have to hand it to this judge here. Everything you have to hand to them. You can't withhold anything. And then you have to get rid of all the evidence so you can't prosecute that person. So, it doesn't matter. Make them go through the process. That's the point. Right now, they know. It's not even they feel. They know with confidence that they're not going to have to be processed like they process to other people. They're not going to face cameras and handcuffs in front of the news. They're not going to have people yelling traitor and all these different paid protesters in the backdrop like you see in freaking third world countries, right? Like they're not going to face any of that. They know they're not going to because of how weak some of these Republicans in Congress are. And so they're going to continue to do what they're going to do.
Yep. I agree. Guys, make sure you share the space out if you guys are on the live X space. Make sure you guys share the link out and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the show. Tom, what is up, buddy? Put your hand up. Join the show. What's happening?
Yeah, thanks. Good to hear you again. I wonder if there's a long game going on with some of these, like the Act Blue and some of these campaign contributions. And I wonder if Trump's strategy for the midterms is to basically discredit a lot of these candidates, and maybe there'd be a big avalanche. I don't quite know what the potential is for that, but it's just starting to kind of rumble a little bit with like all these contributions of small amounts with false names and some of those things. And I just wonder if that could be used as a either to discredit or have full out felony charges against current office holders. And I wonder if that might be a way to try to, this is something, and I really don't want to call it as like hopium of some kind, but I do want to say there is some merit to the idea that if they may be waiting until it's perfectly politically optimal to be able to start releasing some of this stuff. What I worry is that they might try and do something like an October surprise and release a bunch of information, because I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should do it way before that. I think you should do it, as soon as the primaries are over. You should start releasing bombshell information. Like, if you are going to do it and you're going to use it as political, like, leverage, I think you should release it the second the primary is over,
for every single member, every single person you're going to do that on, the primary ends, drop that information out into the public and then run ads on it all the way through November. That's what you should do.
Yep.
That's what I think
That's
should
good
happen.
timing. Yeah. Otherwise, it won't have the impact. I agree with that. Yep.
Well, we just don't live in a world where October, like the October surprise only worked when it was in-person daily vote, like day of voting. Okay. When you have early voting and mail-in voting and all this other crap, when you've got all these different versions of voting, it doesn't have the same effect. Okay. It just doesn't, because the turnout on the day of, Republicans have been doing much better in turnout on the day of. But again, that's also with President Trump on the ballot that's caused that. So, if we don't manage to figure out how to actually attack these people and get real funding and, real ground games up and running in each one of these states, I am concerned. So, I think if they're going to use this stuff politically, then they should drop it as soon as they can, run ads on it constantly, and then focus on the ground game the rest of the time. I think that's the best way for us to win.
If they froze Act Blue's system and account because of what's been happening, if they have definitive proof that foreign entities and other illegal money is being funneled through in fake low dollar contributions, right, to the sums of thousands of dollars per person or whatever, and they freeze that account, let's just say late August, that is damning for a host of Democrat organizations and campaigns going into GOTV.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, listen to me. I think this is what I'm talking about. If they're going to use it politically, and they're going to use it as a political weapon, which I think they should. I mean, they should. If they have this stuff, the best way for it to move forward would be wait until it's the most politically, as damaging as possible. I think is the best way to go forward. We also have to remember that we've got a huge amount of Supreme Court cases that are coming forward. They're going to be very important, very, very important that are going to come up here. The Voting Rights Act, if they get rid of that, that changes the entire congressional map, essentially. And, conservative estimates say that it's 13 or 14 seats that the Democrats might lose as a result of that. I'm not going to buy the hopium until I see it. Okay. But I mean, I just want to say that there are a number of things that could lean us in that direction. And as far as I'm aware, that act, when I hear the oral arguments for it, I don't know what the argument would be for it, to be honest with you. I don't understand what the argument would be for it. I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think it's going to stay. I think Voting Rights Act might get thrown out, and that's going to change a lot. That'll change a whole lot. But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And that means that we have to expend resources and we have to figure out which one of those seats, you have to get everybody moving in the right direction first. So if that happens and they have to redraw a bunch of maps, that's going to be very interesting, guys. They've got to get all those maps finished, done. So that means we may not even know what the congressional map is for the midterms up until, like July. That's possible. That really is possible. So, there's a lot of things up in the air. And if they start going after these people politically and hitting on investigations, hitting on those kind of things, we don't really know. But, my thing is, I think we need to stay focused regardless. And we need to figure out which seats are the most vulnerable for us, which seats are the most vulnerable for the Democrats, which seats we need to be putting people on the ground at, which is what I really want to start doing as soon as we get into the new year. So that's my intention, at least.
Walter, just one other point on the whole outside the DOJ thing. One thing that you could do is just, Tulsi Gabbard's press conference is that you could just have that running on a loop just in front of the DOJ so that it's so that people can just be aware of, all the crimes that occurred during Russiagate and just say why has nobody been arrested for this yet? Something like that. It might be foolish, but you never know.
Listen to me. I like the idea of doing some sort of pressure campaign. Jacktron, I do. But again, you have to think about how you're going to fund it, how you're going to do it. Okay. And it's going to be very difficult for me to go to a group of donors and say, hey, what I want to do is have a protest outside of the DOJ, outside of Trump's DOJ, and yell at them all day long. What conservative donors are going to do that on a regular basis? And who am I going to get at the protest? Maybe I could have one, but these are things, like I said, that's why I think it's much better to go in. If you're going to do an actual, like a guerrilla marketing campaign against people, the DOJ is not the target. It should be against Congress. That's where it should be. And senators, people like Lindsey Graham. I hate Lindsey Graham. Let's go after him. Those are the kind of things that we should be doing, because you don't have a clear directive when you're going after the DOJ, like who I mean, other than Pam Bondi, I mean, we could go out there and have signs that say fire Pam Bondi. We might be able to get leftists to show up on that. The Democrats would probably go with us on that. But then you run into the same trouble that the Marjorie Taylor Greene crowd had, which is they join with the Democrats and then they get blasted by the Trump administration because, they work with the Democrats, and that's not a good thing for us. So it's a very, very difficult tightrope on. That's really the reality of it. So how we get pressure put on these people, I think the best way is we just continue to call for Pam Bondi to get out of there because she's not doing a good job. I mean, at this point, I have seen enough to say that I don't like her. And I also think this is weird. So the Vanity Fair article that we talked about yesterday, this is the Susie Wiles Vanity Fair article. Did anyone forget this? That Susie Wiles, when she threw Pam Bondi under the bus, she said she completely whiffed the Epstein investigation, blah, blah, blah. You know that it was Susie Wiles that really pushed for Pam Bondi, right? It was her. She's a Susie Wiles special. So she threw her under the bus real fast.
That's just one of the reasons I don't like Susie Wiles.
I've never been a fan of Susie. Okay. I mean, I said yesterday, I think she's just a mean old bitch. I mean, that's what my comment is on her. And that's what the Vanity Fair article, that's what it read like. Is she doesn't like anybody. She hates everybody. Everyone's awful except her. She's the best. Well, I don't think so. And here's something I will say. I had a very curious question whether or not there was two campaign managers for the Trump administration, okay? For the incoming Trump administration, there was two campaign managers. There was Susie Wiles and there was Chris LaCivita, okay? And I had the question. I said, okay, we're going to be able to see who won that campaign. Was it Chris LaCivita or was it Susie Wiles? Well, you know how you'd be able to tell? Because if the White House ran like a clock for the first year, it was Susie Wiles who actually did win that campaign. If it failed, it was Chris LaCivita. What would you guys rate this first year of the Trump administration? I would say the first 4 to 5 months were pretty solid, and then we started having serious missteps as we continue throughout the year. Serious missteps. I think that's a good way to characterize it. And I think that the staffing issues may have played a huge part of that. It's not just the top roles that you have to think about. It's all the other roles and how you can get information to President Trump and whether or not President Trump's seeing what's happening from his base, talking to the right people. That all goes through Susie Wiles. That all goes through Susie Wiles. And I think that might be a big problem with here. So I would say that now that we've gotten to pretty much the end of the year, I mean, we're, holidays, and then it's, we got Christmas, New Year's, and then we've been in there a year, essentially, 20 days, and we're at a full year of the Trump administration. I think I can confidently say that it was Chris LaCivita that won that campaign, and Susie Wiles was just along for the ride. And, but apparently Susie Wiles is the most powerful woman in the world in politics, and she's, the entire administration rallied behind her. I don't see anything from Susie Wiles that makes me impressed by her. So, she didn't do a great job this year. She didn't manage the staff of the administration. The upper levels of the administration were not managed very well. I don't think so. There's major missteps by a number of people, PR missteps, issues with trying to get getting the message to the base didn't go very well a couple different times. I think there were serious missteps. The problem is, are we going to get rid of Susie Wiles? I highly doubt it. But, maybe that would be a major change. Now, didn't Trump already get rid of his first chief of staff by this point? Who was his very first chief of staff? I don't even remember.
It was Reince Priebus.
That's right. Reince Priebus was his first one.
And then following Reince Priebus was Scaramucci.
Well, that was about 8 hours, though. So,
that
the mooch
like,
didn't last a very long time. The mooch did not stay for a long time. He was, the mooch didn't do a good job. That was hysterical. That must have been the funniest week in politics ever, though. I loved that. That was just watching. What was it he said? Didn't he call someone some fat queer or something like that? I don't remember what it was. That was amazing. It was like the most ridiculous rant ever.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it was hilarious because it was like a week. It was like a week in the wasn't it even? I don't even know that it was a week.
I don't think it was more than a week, but I just loved it because he referred to himself as the mooch. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Who are you? What are you doing? It was a complete and total disaster. And I remember when he got fired, he was like, I made a lot of mistakes in the past week. Like, yeah, dude, you definitely did. That was easily the worst foray into politics I'd ever seen. So that was very funny. But again, so at this point, you look around the Trump administration, what have they done for the first year? They have had some serious wins. Okay, I don't think anybody that's claiming that this administration is failing miserably is just being dishonest. Okay, that's not true. Okay, one of the biggest accomplishments, more than obviously, is the border, guys. The border being shut closed, done. There is no border. There is no more border invasion. That was what the number one thing for people, really. That was like the biggest thing. And Trump did do that. Okay, that is 100% true that he has managed to shut the border down, that you cannot have people coming across the border, that no one's coming across the border. The amount of invaders from the southern border has been shut almost completely. That's great. That's great stuff. We've also made some good strides in the Middle East. We've managed to figure out some of the stuff over the Middle East. People are upset about some of the stuff that happened, but guys, we blew the shit out of Iran and showed the entire world that, yeah, our U.S. military still does have stuff that you can't do anything about, and no one else is even close to us in tech. We've also managed to sign some massive trade deals. There's good things that have happened this year. There's great things that have happened this year, and this is, it's good. But there are.
We've also got, trillions of dollars invested in the United States.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
See that though.
But the investment stuff is going to pay off in the long run. But the bigger part about it is the regulation axing that we've seen. There's a number of really good things that have happened. Okay, that's true. But the problem is that you look at some of the missteps, and some of the missteps that you look at are, things that people are really not going to let go. Specifically, I keep talking about the accountability aspects because I can't see how anybody is going to let that go, especially anybody that's in the commentariat realm. I don't see how anybody's going to let that go. I don't think you can. There's no way you can convince people that somehow this isn't important to people, because it is, and it's always been important. And again, if you don't fix it, all of the people out here that have been talking, as we have been, we're screwed. They'll come after everybody out here. So again, you have to fix that stuff.
That I think I would agree was one of the quotes in that Susie Wiles article that really actually kind of annoyed me and ticked me off a little bit was when she said that they had a verbal agreement. She publicly told Vanity Fair that she had told the president that if she takes the job as chief of staff, he has like a maximum of like 2 or 3 months to get over the retribution stuff. And I personally didn't like that. I felt I didn't like the entire article, just in general, her doing that. But when she says that publicly, I just think that's the kind of stuff that stays behind closed doors. And I found it distasteful, because the truth is he's got a lot of reasons to seek retribution. Now, I will say that when he talks about this, he needs to kind of talk about it more in a forward moving way, right? And say, this is where accountability is coming in. This is why. It doesn't have to be, this is what's been done to me in the past. This is why. This was, they broke these laws. Like, this is clear. I did think that was a really good moment of his speech tonight. Was 2 points on there. Was he actually got off script and I thought was genuine in saying that he felt it was the greatest attack that he had ever seen on the United States was the flow of millions of illegals into the United States. I thought that was hugely important. I thought the way he delivered that part. And then the other part I really liked about it was where he identified that a year ago, the job numbers were 100% foreign-born workers. And a year later, the job numbers are 100% American citizens.
Yep.
And I thought that was an important line as well.
Absolutely. I didn't even know this was a speech he gave earlier today. I didn't even get to see this.
He just gave it tonight.
That's interesting. I didn't even get to see this.
It was there's still a lot of work to do in that arena.
It was only 18 minutes. It was a fast speech. And he was kind of cooking with the speed that he was delivering the speech. I would have probably had him slow it down a little bit, but he delivered it in 18 minutes. Talked about his accomplishments heading into Christmas, and then wished everybody a safe and Merry Christmas. And so, but it was not a long speech, but it was a good speech. He did reiterate 3 or 4 times that he referred to to Obamacare as the Unaffordable Act multiple times. He also drove home that it was that skyrocketed everybody's health care, which I think anybody with common sense knows that's the truth. And he called it a deal with big insurance that was also bankrolling, that now also bankrolls the Democratic Party. And so he though that was almost a direct quote. And then he what was the other thing he hit home? Oh man, he called it I got to remember the term he used. He used it about 4 different times. So I'll have to look at the transcript and get back to you on it. But
well, I'll check out the speech. I didn't even have time to watch this because I was in a meeting up until the point I got into this show. So, I'll have to go watch the speech and I'll probably talk about it a little bit tomorrow or something. But, if the deal is to me, if Susie Wiles, the fact that she was talking about you only have a couple months to go for the retribution stuff, that's a bunch of shit. That's the problem I have with that. That's a bunch of shit. Okay. You can't just say that you can't have accountability. Okay. You have to. It's not even a thought that you can't have some sort of it. You must. It's not, it has nothing to, and honestly, to be perfectly frank, it doesn't really have much to do with Trump. In reality, it doesn't. It simply doesn't have much to do with Trump. The only reason it's a part of it is because it happened to Trump. But the reality is, as a country, we have to have this addressed because if you don't, as I've said many times, we don't have a country. We don't. None of it matters if we don't have this stuff accomplished. Nothing we do matters unless the people that really did do this stuff, unless they go to prison, none of this shit matters. The midterms don't matter. The next presidential election doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, and how can you say that it would? Because apparently then, the intelligence agencies get to pick who's in charge. And if they don't, then they get $1 million settlements from the next administration when they sabotage the previous one. And then they'll do it again and again and again. The next administration, they'll arrest everybody. You can't have that. Okay, you can't have that. That's why it has to be addressed. And Susie Wiles, if she doesn't understand that, then she is not on our team at all. Okay, to be honest with you, I'm not surprised by that because I don't think she is. I think she's a rhino shitbag. But that's she can complain and she can have all of her members of the administration that are terrified of her for whatever reason claim that she is the chief of staff of all time. But if she doesn't think that accountability is important, then she doesn't understand what time it is in this country, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem.
Well, and it's also an admission of a failure on her part. Because if she was the chief of staff to the most powerful person in the world, then she would have ensured in the boardroom that accountability happens within the first 3 months of this administration, that indictments must happen, that things must be done. You know what I mean? And none of that happened.
Yep. Well, I mean, this is what I said at the beginning of the year. I said, you have to have stuff happen. And I was willing to be patient. I was very willing to be patient. But now that we're almost a year into this administration, and we haven't seen indictments. I mean, just think about the amount of political capital that people like Tulsi Gabbard expended when she came out there and said that it was a treasonous conspiracy by Barack Obama. That's a lot of political capital to expend for nothing to happen. You can't just... do you think people are just going to completely forget about that? Is that what the idea is? What are you talking about? People are going to forget about that. You said that the previous president of the country was a treasonous conspiracy that was trying to overthrow the country. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, that's the problem here, right? If you don't address these problems, they don't go away. It's not like they magically disappear. What are you talking about? So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. They have to address some of this stuff. And if Susie Wiles is the one holding that back, then Susie Wiles needs to go. I mean, if that's really the case, if she's the one that's keeping this stuff from moving forward, then someone fire Susie Wiles, get her fat ass out of there. I don't care if she's some, super powerful woman in Congress. I don't care. Okay, I didn't vote for Susie Wiles. All right, that has nothing to do with anything to me. So if that's necessary, then maybe that's who we should pressure against. Screw Susie Wiles. I don't care about her. That doesn't mean anything to me. So and by the way, the funny thing is, I don't see anybody that's coming rushing to her support in the commentariat world. Do you? I haven't seen a single person. Not one person. Now I've seen a bunch of the administration come out and say she's the best. Yeah, well, she's also the one that can fire you if you don't say you're the best. So I think you probably are duty, or you're bound to say that whatever she tells you to say because she is the chief of staff. But if in the commentariat, I've got no love for Susie Wiles, people. I got no love for her at all. Rotate her out and get somebody else in there. Get somebody that makes. I would much rather Stephen Miller be chief of staff. I think that would be much better. I think he would be a much better chief of staff. I think that would be perfect. But
I got Walter, and I want to say this real quick because I got tagged on something. The question was, so what are y'all going to do? Just not vote? Hell no, that's not at all.
That's not the answer.
You absolutely have to vote. That's not the answer. The problem is you have people like Candace Owens and others telling people not to vote, which is the most un-American thing you can tell an American is to not vote. The answer to what we're talking about is that there has to be accountability for the wrongs that have been done, and these are very severe wrongs. You can't violate someone's due process. You can't violate someone's constitutional protections and constitutional rights, and you damn sure can't lie to a FISA court. You can't lie to Congress. We can go down the list of all the things that have taken place. We're absolutely, everybody should go vote.
No, yeah. And, listen, I will never tell anybody not to vote. Okay. In fact, the only way for us to fix it is to vote. Okay. If we don't like what's happening here, then we need to mobilize, get ready for the midterms, get ready for the primaries. Primaries are even more important in this scenario because we need to make sure we have good candidates that can actually fight for our interest in Congress. That's the best way. The best way is to vote. Okay, the best turning out of the system is a stupid idea. Anybody that tells you that should be ignored completely. Now, what I'm saying is that we need to put more pressure on our own administration because, for the first couple months, I would say that there wasn't a lot of pressure put on the administration, but things were happening in the first few months. We hit the road running like a gunshot. I mean, it was like the beginning of a track meet. Bang, everything started flying. It was the first. I mean, people don't realize now that everyone's kind of gotten used to it. But the things and the amount of shit that happens on a regular basis, this is not a normal administration. Okay, like everyone's kind of gotten you've gotten used to the fact that things happen all the time, that there's an endless fire hose of news that happens. I mean, every single day there's 25 things that happen. It's impossible to keep up with all of it. Thank God we actually do have a, diversified media, because if you didn't, no one would have any idea what's going on. You really wouldn't. I mean, it would be impossible if there wasn't 1,000 journalists out here covering every word that they say from every aspect of it. I mean, there's, to cover just one single, agency takes 20 people. I mean, 20 online commentators that are really good at their jobs covering one thing. I mean, you've got to follow so many different people to be able to keep up what's going on because there's so much stuff that happens. That's not normal. I mean, that's the news cycle right now rotates within the week. I mean, it's crazy. Within 1 week, we can start the week off when we blew up a drug boat, and we end the week off with, somebody moving out of the administration and Susie Wiles is under attack from the Vanity Fair article or something. I mean, it's always an interesting week. And this is not a typical administration. So I think people have gotten used to it now, and they think that this is normal, but none of this is normal. This is a very high-functioning administration. Things just move differently. And there's things we want to have finished and we want to have done. And I could say that, I've got no love for Susie Wiles, and if we think she's a problem, then maybe she needs to go. I don't care. They may not like that. Maybe she's got some friends in the administration at the top levels, but I don't like you, Susie. I think you're a fat old bitch. Get out of there. So that's my opinion on Susie Wiles. But, we'll see.
Yeah, Walter, before we just want to remind everybody to share the space. Make sure you subscribe to WC Dispatch. Subscribe to Walter. Support his work. Santa Tron over here, Jack Tron also has subscriptions. Make sure you support him. He's a highly intelligent dude, and we got to always support people that are helping the cause. And so, Walter, I think this has just kind of popped in my brain. Again, this is off the cuff, just popped in my brain. It made me think here real quick. So because one of the other things I don't think we mentioned about in terms of what I found to be awesome things this administration did was opening up the press corps to new media.
Yep.
So you have folks that we all know, we all follow, that are able to go in there and ask questions. And that's huge because it doesn't allow legacy media to spin a narrative and attack the president and do what they've always done and what they're always going to try to do. So that's been huge. But it made me think about something real quick here. So if Dan Bongino's out and goes back to his show, is there a possibility that we see Dan Bongino in the new media as a new media representative or someone from his show asking specific questions to departments in this administration?
Now, that would be interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised. That I wouldn't be surprised by at all. I mean, that makes actually a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know why Dan Bongino wouldn't have somebody in the White House on a regular basis. I assume he would be able to get press credentials immediately. So that's not something that I think would even be a question. I'm sure he would. I'm really not surprised.
Yeah, because, I mean, if he had somebody in the White House, He obviously could get press credentials at the Pentagon and in the DOJ and those kinds of things. Not only his own personal sourcing, like because we obviously know that he has on a first name base. He has Trump's phone number, right? Like let's be very clear here. But the point is to have somebody representing him or himself, asking specific questions that he maybe had felt frustrated about, that he needs to get out into the public that he couldn't do as deputy director, aside from obviously talking about it on his show, which I think we may potentially see at some point. I'm wondering if he will be instrumental in kind of pushing that heading into next year.
By the way, guys, looks like 0 Hour may have just ID'd one of the people. I'm going to put this up on the screen here in just a second.
One of the Brown people?
Yeah, one of the people from Brown University. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. So if you guys have not seen the images from the Brown University, the current images. So here's the current images. This is this woman, what she looks like. So here's the two images. This is the image that the police released earlier. And this is the face shot here. I'm not sure if that's actually the same person. That's just what Zero just posted an image of it. He's just throwing stuff out there. That's what he does. But he just put this out a second ago. And this is Sabia Ahmed is a member of the Students for Justice in Palestine at Brown University and an executive board member at the Muslim Students Association, the MSA at Brown. So, shocking. It looks a lot like her, to be honest with you. Like a lot like her. So that's new information that just came out. If you guys are looking up on the screen, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this. This would not be surprising to me if this is actually the person. This is Brown University. This would explain to me why they're hiding this information, by the way. This has kind of been part of the theory the whole time. They are doing this for optics reasons because they're, ridiculous, stupid leftists who believe that it's more important to cover for optics rather than actually catch, you just shot up your own college. But, whatever. I mean, these are the people that are in charge over there. So looks like this might be, if anybody deserves the $50,000 reward, I think 0 Hour might be up and contention for that at this point. This guy's literally he's been digging through the social media and every photo that exists on Brown University for, several days straight now. I think he's done more work than the entire police department combined at this point.
Yeah, and she's not. I don't know if you posted the photo of her what he posted in that thread, Walter. A couple comments down. Someone has a screenshot of her. The guy that they thought that they identified, which I think may be accurate. They identified as the guy that has his hands behind his back in a mask over his face. You know what I mean? That guy is also in a photo with this gal and another guy and a couple other people. But the point is, she does look to be like 5'9". Maybe a little taller, because the guy she's standing next to looks like a pretty decent sized guy.
Right.
So it could be very well. And the other thing to keep in mind is this person's in what looks to be like boots, like Doc Marten boots or like boots to make them look even taller.
Well, the other thing that there was some interesting stuff that Zero put out earlier that I thought was pretty solid. He was talking about what work uniform shoes is given out by Brown University to workers at the university, and he was focusing on that. I actually saw a couple images that looked like that might have been accurate, but this to me looks like this might be this might be one of the most interesting people he's put out so far. Sabia Ahmed.
Yeah, that really looks like the person.
It does. It really looks just like them. And of course, it's radical pro-Palestinian. I mean, how many times are we going to do it? Like anybody, okay, if you're here from another country and you're in a Palestinian justice group, you should be deported now. Sorry, I don't care. We don't even need to question it. You should just be deported. I mean, in fact, if you're just an American citizen and you're one of those groups, I think you should be deported as well. But, unfortunately, that's not legal. But I still think you should be. Be happy that I'm not in charge, because I'd find a way to deport you. I mean, that's the way I look at it. But Jeff, you came up here on stage. What is up, Jeff?
Hey, what's going on? And as far as I'm concerned, hey, not to my buddies down there in Houston, Fies, I love you, brother. But the Muslim Brotherhood support terrorism in our country. They support the Democrats, and who was on Some people did some things. There you go. And secondly, who is Pam Bondi arrested of any type of on the high profile Jeffrey Epstein list? You tell me who she's arrested of importance.
I mean, on the Epstein list, the Epstein list is a whole different scenario here. I mean, the Epstein list, everyone keeps wondering about this Epstein list. And I keep telling people that, guys, if there was anything interesting on that freaking list, they would have destroyed it years ago. I don't think there is going to be any Epstein list. I've told people this for months.
Who has been arrested on the Russian collusion?
That's what my point is. That's my real point.
And everything else, who has been arrested?
Nobody has. And that's the problem. And that's the real problem.
Then she needs to step down and resign. That's my point.
No, I agree with you. And listen to me. It is for that very specific reason that the fact that they're intel officers who nearly overthrew a sitting president aren't all, hanging by gibbets in the front lawn of the White House is beyond me. It drives me insane every single day. I agree with you. She should resign just for that. I mean, those people should have been arrested the hour that they took over. That's what should have happened. Instantly. Arrest them. Put them in prison tomorrow. I say that it's a very simple crime. You tried to overthrow the country. That's what I say happens. But, of course, according to them, nothing's happened so far, and no one's even been charged. They can't even seem to hold an indictment on James Comey. So it's beyond me, guys. It really is. So looking more into this information from 0 Hour here, this does look pretty damn good. I'm going to have to wait and see what else happens with that. But that's a pretty close ID in terms of facial features to me. What happened to the fat dude? The fat dude with the satchel. Like, I'm not seeing anything about him all day long. How are they? I guess the other problem is, like, how have they not found these people? Like, it's just beyond me. And we are in 2025. These people have been at large since when? When did the shooting happen? Saturday night, right? Or Saturday afternoon?
It was like Saturday night or Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what day it was. It was Saturday afternoon or something like that, and they still haven't caught these people. It's beyond me. I mean, 0 Hour right now might be the only person to actually manage to catch these people, which is just... If an internet investigator manages to do this, that is going to be such an embarrassment for them. I hope he gets the $50,000 reward. He deserved it.
This does happen. It's very common for people on the internet to break cases open and get rewards. I mean, this is a very common thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 0 Hour who earlier today, because they pinpointed this other person, and so that he had identified that the really heavy set dude with the satchel with the man purse was actually the spotter.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. There was a theory that there was two people, that one is the spotter and one was the shooter. And that's a pretty good theory to me. I thought that was pretty solid as well, because I said that actually the day of when we got the first image where the person was rounding the corner, and then we saw the image of the fat dude, and I said those aren't the same people. That's two different people. They don't even look this similar. Like, their body shape is completely different. They walk differently. I didn't think it was the same person. And now we have this other image of this new woman or man or whatever it is. It to me it looks like that. That looks like it might be the first person from the very first video of them rounding the corner. But I'm still amazed that we don't have any photos or videos of a direct face shot still days later. I mean, it's beyond me. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard the press conference, Walter, that the guy gave today, but they still don't have a roll of the students that were in the study hall when the shooting happened. They don't know what students were in there yet. They sent an email requesting the list.
What? They sent an email?
They sent an email requesting the list that have not received feedback yet, but they were told that because it was a study hall, they didn't have to check in.
The incompetence, I'm telling you guys, the incompetence here is biblical in nature. It's just unbelievable.
And then he says, because there's a footage of I don't know, a patrol car or something, Brown University patrol car on one of these cameras driving by this second individual, and then he could not answer. He said he is unaware of whether Brown's patrol cars have cameras on them or not. Because there's
Listen,
chief of police coordinating with this this campus law enforcement agency, and you don't even know if they have a camera or not. Not to mention the fact that he was a patrol officer in Providence.
listen, he was riding his camel across the state. Okay, this guy's an idiot. So, but I want to play this clip here because this is what I was talking about. This is something I wanted to play here. This is the officials were taking questions about this, and this is the accusation. Apparently, something to do with the cameras are being turned off for illegal aliens. I wanted to play this because I haven't even heard this yet.
The camera in that building, the Brown put off because the sanctuary city law that we have. You don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives, they're a friend of mine, they're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera off, they can identify that person. You imagine how the family want to go through? Tell the truth to the media here. Putting cameras off.
We heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data.
So I don't know if you guys have caught this, but the past few press conferences, this guy, whoever this is, that voice, I have heard him multiple times now, and he has been all over them. Does anyone know who that guy is? Seriously, if anybody knows who that is, I would like to talk to him. Like I'll invite him on the show right now if I know who he is. I don't know who that guy is. I'd like to speak with him if anybody has any clue what this guy's name is, because I think that's the second or third time that I've heard him go after them and just absolutely blast them. And he seems to know his stuff. So I'd like to know who that is. Apparently this is a radio host, but I don't know who he is. So if anybody actually has that guy's name, I'd love to speak with him. That would be great. Because he is apparently very, very involved and very up to date on what is the disaster unfolding in Providence. So if anybody knows who that is, let me know. I'd love to be able to talk to him. But that to me, that's so what he's talking about there is the unable to communicate if they have footage for the Trump administration for ICE. That's what he was talking about. I'm going to see if I can figure out what this guy's name is. In the meantime, guys, make sure you guys share the space. If you guys like to join the show, by the way, you want to come up here and talk, you guys are welcome to do so. If you're on the other platforms and you want to come up here and join the show, you got to go to x.com, go to @WCDispatch, and you can join the show and chime in yourself. If you are willing to do so, you guys are welcome to come up here. It says a Providence radio host just accused, but there's no name. What's his name? Let me see if I can find this out. Nick posted this earlier. Let me see if I can message Nick and see what he says.
Nick Sorter?
Yeah. I can message him.
Yeah, so could I. Maybe we could also move on to maybe some other stories, because there's some other things that happened, like in the clips I sent you today. Like we have Fannie Willis was... the
Fannie Willis. I do want to play that because that looked like a disaster zone for her. That is worth talking about. I should play that for sure. I'm going to send Nick a message real quick here. 1 second.
Yeah, well, we got plenty of clips of that.
What is the radio host? Fronted Providence.
Maybe you could also try asking Grok.
Grok's not going to know the name of radio host. Radios aren't, the problem with radio hosts is that no one has any idea who they are because they don't, most of this time it's not transcribed. So they're, anything that they talk about, they're not going to know the name of them. Maybe they would, but I doubt it.
Hey, Walter. Hi. I found it if you want it.
Yeah. What's his name?
John DePetro. DE T as in Tom, R as in Robert, O as in Orange. DePetro. He is a news talk host at 99.7 and AM 630 WPRO.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather. That is fantastic. Let me see if I can find this guy.
You're welcome.
That is great. Yeah, if I can find this guy, I'll literally bring him on the show right now. Let's see if I can find him. Let's see here. John DePetro. Crime journalist, host, creator, road patrol. This looks like this is him. Found his website. I found his X profile. Not the face that I thought sounded like that voice. I will say that. Are we sure this is the right guy? I mean, this looks like a very stereotypical like white dude, and I was thinking like, hardcore Latino guy. Like I'm not even joking.
Well, there's also a someone with the last name Martinez who's with NPR, that's been at these press conferences and has interviewed the attorney general regarding the shooting. I don't know that NPR would.
Hold on, so let me listen to this here because this is him talking. I want to hear if this is actually him. No, that's not the same guy. No, not even close. Okay, I didn't think so.
That's who they're reporting is the one that was giving the police all the critical questions. Oh.
Interesting. I mean, he did retweet that, but I'm not seeing. I mean, it doesn't sound like the same person, does it? It doesn't sound like the same person. Let me make sure this is because I'm looking at an image here. John DePetro is live from Providence Police Briefing. Yeah, this doesn't seem like the same person. It just doesn't sound like the same person. But I mean, regardless, the guy looks like he's actually live on this scene. So maybe I could talk to him anyway. I'm not sure. I'd like to talk to him regardless. If anybody can figure out who the reporter was that was actually asking that question there, right there, that would be very helpful. I'm not sure if it actually is John DePetro or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But it sure as hell doesn't sound like the same guy. I'll just say that. But I'll send him a message anyway and see if he'd like to join the show. Let me see here.
Or were you reading the? Because you said there was an article that didn't say the person's name. Were you reading the Gateway Pundit?
No, I was just reading. That was just a post on X. I mean, that was just a random post.
So there's a Christina Layla with the Gateway Pundit. She's the associate editor.
Mm-hmm.
She was covering it, and she has a clip of it, but she referred to a Latino. Let's see where we at here.
Yeah, that's who. That sounds like him. Whoever that is.
Yeah, it was like a Latino radio host or something like that. Let me see exactly how she referred to it as.
Yeah, that's what I want to find. If we can find that, that would be interesting.
Yeah, a Latino radio host. So let's do this. Let's do.
Then again, it is Rhode Island. There's like 7 people there. So if you look up the Latino radio host in Providence, Rhode Island, there's probably got to be like one of them. I mean, maybe 2. So, and it's probably the police chief's brother because Perez is apparently also Latino for some strange reason.
Which is a red flag, by the way, for me. Just so we're clear here, I did a little bit because no one's done a little background on this chief of police, and he actually is from Medellin, Colombia.
Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be?
Came here when he was 13. He looks to me like he's probably in his upper 50s, maybe a little older. I could be wrong, but he came here in 13. That means that he came here at really, quite frankly, at the height of the rise of the narcos, where Medellin was cartel central. Like they were.
Oh boy! Now we're getting into the real conspiracies. The cartels control Providence, Rhode Island, and Brown University is all part of it. I love it. This is the fun stuff, man.
Yeah, that's pretty the fun stuff. But do we want to talk about the Fannie Willis story?
No, right now we're in the middle of focusing on this because if we can figure out who this guy is, I want him on the show. And we'll talk about the Fannie Willis stuff here in a little bit. I want to see if I can find this guy's name. Radio host in Providence, Rhode Island. There cannot be that many of them. It is not a big place. Latino public radio host in Rhode Island. Let's see if we can find some. Quick answer. That would be entertaining if we could actually find this guy because I would love to have him on the show. And I bet you someone like that, it would probably be willing to go onto the show. That's what my thought is, at least. If anybody finds somebody like that, send me the message either on X here or put it in the comments on the space, or you can come up here and tell me if you guys managed to find this guy, because I'm going to see if we can find him. You know, this tonight I don't really have a whole lot because I didn't have time to go through everything before the show, so I'd like to see if we could actually bring somebody specific on to talk about this. That would be very entertaining.
Okay, so there's 2 in particular, and I think this may actually be potentially the guy. So A. Martinez is the host of NPR's Morning Edition and Up First. I just want to, has included reporting on recent mass shooting at Brown University. Okay, I'm going to tell you from personal experience. I'm not going to kind of go into details, but I'm going to say on a personal matter, I know for a fact it can't be the national, radio host on NPR, right? Because they're typically out of DC. So enter in Luis Hernandez, the morning host for the Public's radio, which serves Rhode Island. Luis Hernandez is a 20-year public radio veteran. His station has covered events at Brown University, linking his work. So here's Luis. I'm going to send you this, Walter.
Yeah, send it to me.
I think we got our guy here.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, I just saw a photo of him, and that dude's straight Latino, man. So I got.
Yeah, listen to me. When you hear the guy's voice, you're like, and I looked at the John DePetro. I'm like, that ain't him. Sorry,
Yeah,
John DePetro looks
DePetro,
like a like a mid-50s white dude who speaks softly, and we're talking about a hardcore Latino here. That he's got the full accent and all. Like, this has got to be a different guy. So let's see here. What do you got here?
This is Luis.
Yeah, now that looks like our speaker. Yeah, that exactly looks like him. Okay, let's see if we can figure out how to find him. Luis Hernandez. All right, Luis, where you at?
Good job, Chris. You found him.
Heck yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't know if this is him, guys. We're just assuming, but I'll tell you right now, it definitely seems like it could be him. Let's see here. Luis Hernandez, radio play-by-play. No. That's for play-by-play for Mexican soccer. Okay. Of course it is. Radio. Let me see if I can find him. Nope, doesn't look like he has an X profile.
Yeah, so okay. Now here's one thing I got to put an asterisk on here, okay? Because I have a relative that works in NPR, right? Well, it used to, formerly in public radio, right? At a university, okay? And I'm just saying, when they do that, they have to have a certain tone on air, right? In the way that they present themselves, because they're going over the radio, right? So how he sounds on the radio may not be precisely how he sounds in person especially if he's upset. You know what I mean? So.
Right. And the question, I guess, is I'm looking at this guy's information here. Rhode Island Latino Arts fought against the Trump administration in court, all this stuff. The problem is I don't see how he is specifically, is he even based directly in there, because it says that he is he's a radio host. He doesn't necessarily have to be on scene in Rhode Island. So it may not actually even be there.
Well, it says that it's called the Public's Radio Show, and he is in Providence, and he has been covering the Brown University shootings.
Okay, let me see here. Hernandez, because the links you sent me to a PBS thing, dude. So that might not be right.
Yeah, no, that's his show, the Public's Radio. That's his website.
No, that was a PBS. That was literally PBS, not Publix. It wasn't anything Publix. It was PBS, like specific to PBS.
I sent you go to thepublicsradio.org.
Thepublicsradio.org?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second here.
Talking about PBS, Public Broadcasting System?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, guys, let me explain how this works, okay? Because a lot of people were like, defund NPR, get rid of NPR, get rid of public radio, okay? That's all good and well, okay? I'm not opposed to any of that. I am saying, though, at the local universities, you guys know PBS, right? The station, well, they have local broadcasting at all of these universities. Every university has a public radio station, and their local shows are called different things, right? Based on that community or
right. So I found a little bit more information. I'm going to see if I can find contact information. I'm going to see if I can find actual contact info, because we can actually bring him on the show. That would be amazing. I'd love to hear from this guy, because one, he sounds like he's like really angry, which I enjoy. That would make me happy, just to have a very pissed off Latino guy that's yelling at Brown University come and join the show. That would be very entertaining for the audience and for me, and for Chris. Chris would enjoy it. He'd feel right at home. That would be normal for him. So I think it would be great. I think that would be perfect for us. Plus, I actually really want to hear what he was asking here, because the clip that we have is only about 40 seconds, and you don't really get to hear the full question on how this got brought up in the first place. So I'd love to see if we can actually get a hold of this person here. There's a professional email. Looks like he has a LinkedIn profile, personal website, no phone number of any kind. Nope, doesn't look like he has an X profile or something we could directly message him on. Maybe we could try sending him a message on LinkedIn, but who the hell checks LinkedIn for their messages? No one does that, right? No one does that. So, okay, well, anyway. Oh, well, I guess we won't be able to bring Luis on the show. Maybe that might be something I can work out sometime in the middle of this week, though. So, if you guys have any idea how to contact Mr. Luis Hernandez and from this radio show, if you have any ability to contact him, send me a message, and I'd love to hear from him because that guy obviously has a little bit more to the story that we don't have yet. So I'd love to hear what he has to say. So until then, we can move on to a couple of other stories for the evening, and we'll come back to this if I see. I'm going to continue to work on this while we play some of these clips here. Now, which one of these clips in here specifically, Fonnie Willis? There's a few of them in here. So which one of these is probably the better one to start with on here, Jacktron? Just the one that's named Fonnie.
Yeah, we should probably start with that one.
Okay, so let's start with this. So for those who don't know, Fonnie Willis was in court today, and she was grilled, and it did not go well for her. Did not go well for her at all. So we'll start with this clip here, and we'll actually talk about some of this stuff here.
Screen.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I only allowed Mr. Wade to bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fonnie Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to the screen.
That was just fantastic. If you guys had missed this earlier.
She said my boyfriend instead of my boyfriend.
What? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, white boy. That's what that was right there. My goodness, Fonnie is just on a full-on crash out, guys. I mean, that is an incredible crash out from her, screaming into the mic. I mean, I like how she got super close to the mic, so she meant like well, what was the purpose of that? You just get as close as you can so that you make sure you have a bunch of pulsives so that it just completely clips out the entire time because that helps. Is that what the intention was there? That was hysterical. I loved that. That was
The next one is just called Willis, and then the other one is Grilled.
Willis and Grilled. I like that this just named Willis. Let's go with Willis next. Where's he here? Willis is the next one. So let's play this one here and see how bad this one is.
So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind in the process of.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not, but you asked.
I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him because it occurred after she took office. But
I didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you.
This woman, did you guys hear that? And she said, it's a dumbass question. I can't stand this woman. I really can't. I mean, this is just great stuff, though. It just absolute crash out from the hood rat that used to be in charge of this DA. By the way, if everyone doesn't remember what this story is about, if you don't remember what this is that she was dating the guy that she brought in for this case, and they were like flying around and going to the Bahamas for like, several $100,000. That's what this is all about. And the funniest part about it was, I remember the story when it broke, I could not stop laughing because if I remember correctly, the title of the article was, it was from the Atlantic Constitutional or the Georgia Constitutional. I forget what the name of the name of the paper down there is. I'm pretty sure it's the Atlantic Constitutional. The title of it was Fonnie Willis's boyfriend indicted for racketeering. It's just, you can't make this up because that was the charge that she had brought against President Trump was for racketeering, if you don't remember that. So that's why it was so funny in the first place. But this is just
what was Mr.
Rat in Chief here, just continuing her rant and this crash out. So this one's a bit longer. This clip is. So let's listen a little bit more of this.
Mr. Wade's role in the anti-corruption unit.
He didn't have a role in the anti-corruption unit.
The election interference case, what unit did it fall under?
I called it the election team.
Okay. When Mr. Wade was he hired solely to focus on this election, to work on this election team, or did he do other work within your office?
I don't remember. I think there were times where I'd bring in some of my senior personnel and ask them, what's your thought on this case or these facts? I always involve wise counsel. I'm sure he was in some of those meetings.
Would you classify Mr. Wade as senior personnel as being part of your team?
Would I classify him as senior? So he was a special prosecutor. He never worked for me as an employee. What I would call him is a seasoned lawyer. 25 years, first African-American lawyer to ever serve Cobb County as a municipal court judge. What I would call him is a lawyer with a distinguished resume.
Okay. When did you begin to consider whether to bring charges in response to the 2020 presidential election in Georgia?
Don't answer that. That's a deliberative privilege. Don't answer that. I instruct you not to answer.
Is it true that part of your transition team was involved in the process of interviewing people before you entered office to lead the investigation into the 2020 presidential election?
I'd like to answer that.
Go right ahead. You only take my advice sometimes. Anyway, go ahead.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge. If you recall the facts, I was already district attorney when this all came to light. So it's factually impossible.
You were district attorney when what came to light?
When Raffensperger went on Good Morning America or whatever show he went on. I was already district attorney, so what you ask is a factual impossibility. Now, I know they've gotten black folks confused and said I was running for office, saying I was going to prosecute the President of the United States, but that's what we call a lie.
Okay. I would like to...
from here on out, okay?
Yeah.
I hate this woman. I just can't stand it.
Walter, all right, I gotta say this. Look, she puts on this act like she's some hood, like a Jasmine Crockett, like she's a hoodlum and from the ghettos. But listen, I'll tell you this. I have met this woman and she has such a very expensive, skincare.
Listen, Jacktron, and before you even continue this, because I know exactly what this statement's about to be. For those who don't know, Jacktron apparently has met Fani Willis, and Fani Willis apparently has the softest hands in all of politics, according to Jacktron, which is just the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my life. Monica is up here on stage. Monica knows all about Fani. How are you, Monica?
Good evening, everyone. I'm fine. I think you actually hold a little bit more disdain for her than I do, and I actually pay her salary. So, and apparently for her boyfriend's trips, what did she say? How many hours a week?
160, which is impressive because there's only 168 hours in a full week. So the guy is sleeping an hour and 15 minutes a day, guys. That's just absolutely incredible. That's shocking.
But the good news is he won't have tax on overtime.
Right, exactly, right. So the man, now this was shocking. Okay, so some of my friends who were indicted are on Twitter this evening, and they're commenting about the gentleman sitting next to her like a complete slob, who was apparently Roy Barnes, which was our past governor.
Yeah, I thought I recognized him. I could tell this face. I knew that face from somewhere. So that's Roy Barnes. That's incredible.
Yes, that's incredible. I was like, shut up.
I knew I knew that face. It was like, why do I know this face? This is something very familiar in the voice. Yeah, there's something very familiar about it.
Could not believe it. But her hubris and everything in this city and this state will always and forever be about race. Forever. So we finally have, someone who's leading in their primary. And if he doesn't beat Keisha, we've got way bigger problems. But the mayor named Keisha, see, she's part of the quote Black Girl Magic Club, and this is a real thing. I'm sure Christopher's heard me complain about it many times, but is a very real culture that is rooted.
Culture.
It's rooted in probably more of a sorority, generational lineage. Delta meets the AKA kind of black girl magic stuff. And no offense to any of you black ladies who are great sorority sisters, but this is a very politically motivated, also professionally motivated, basically gang. Speaking of RICO charges, I'd love to get a hold of some of the communications. I will say this though, Walter, Republicans put her in office. And I distinctly remember getting the phone calls and people, bidding for time on my show here locally to come on and beg the Republicans to vote for her to oust her predecessor. Excuse me, who was pretty bad, and he had been pretty, but he was the evil we knew, right? But they were tired of that one, and they wanted some fresh evil blood, and they convinced Republicans to put her in office, and this is what we got. And I don't know that anything will come out of what the hearings from today. I think there's no limit to the to the bowels of hell to which she will descend to defend herself and her actions.
Well, I will say that regardless if anything does happen from it or not, the comedic value of it is endless. I mean, that has got to be the most entertainment I've seen. Like, I saw the crash out earlier when she was just like, I'm yelling into the mic. I'm getting real close to the microphone. I'm going to get real close to it and yell it. I mean, I was like, oh, my goodness, this is just... How are you an elected official, Mike? My God, and how are we? This is our country. We are not a serious country, people. We just aren't.
Agreed. And thank God we have Burt Jones, which was I was about to say, he's leading on the Republican side of things now. Whether or not Raffensperger and old Chris Carr, two people who were very instrumental in what happened here in the state of Georgia. Who knows what will happen with that? But our current lieutenant governor is leading the charge of the gubernatorial race, and he came out very adamantly and strongly against her this evening. And she even attempted to corral him into the madness of indicting all of my friends in the Republican Party here. And he circumvented that because she's such an idiot. As she was going to indict him under these RICO charges, she was calling him in for whatever was happening with the grand jury. She's calling him in for testimony, and his counsel unearths that she has just contributed to his opponent. Right. So huge no, right? Like how are you going to prosecute someone who you are actively working against politically and sending campaign donations to? So Burt actually escaped or in her words, escaped the madness of what was happening at the time. So thankfully, now he's out ahead of all the shenanigans that happen here. And I'll do anything I can to help that man win. He is the only person in politics who would bring me out of my cave to actually engage in anything political. He's very worthy of the seat. But yeah, it's funny to you guys, but we get to pay for it.
Well, I mean, this is the deal. I mean, to me, I was bringing up the absurdity that happened as a result of the what was the very first article that released on her boyfriend? What was it? It's Fonnie Willis's boyfriend is paid for Bahama vacations and indicted on RICO charges. I was like, what? Like, I was like, it was just it's so comically ridiculous because it was the RICO charges that she had brought against President Trump. For essentially nothing. I mean, she also tried to jail like the only guy. Well, there's like one specific black guy that was in that entire group, and she tried to jail him for some strange reason, and not the rest of them. It was absurd.
Oh, she did. It was Harrison.
Yeah, that's right.
He did spend time in Fulton County jail.
God, it was such this is in the midst of the absolute clown show that was the non. Obviously not coordinated assault against President Trump. I mean, that's really what that was, and that was just. This is the end result of it is we have a very angry black woman calling people dumb in court. I mean, that's like what we're seeing here. So y'all dumbass. That's a dumbass question. Oh my God. How are you an elected official? How?
Which boyfriend? Because before this saga, she was banging a witness on some rapper's trial and made him a confidential informant in exchange for him banging her.
Oh my
and
God.
he ended up getting off, no pun intended. So yes, very good point. I completely forgot about that.
I forgot all about that.
Young chains or two things.
Yeah, 2 Chainz. It was the 2 Chainz trial. That's right.
2 Chainz. Of course, it was 2 Chainz. Oh my God! Listen, this is what I mean when I say that we are not a serious country. I mean, these are elected officials, people. And it's the same sort of thing when you see Letitia James when she comes out. She said, "I went to Howard University. I'm prepared. I'm ready." Oh my God, Jesus, woman. How are you an elected official? How?
I think what the man was the point he was trying to make, and whoever that was dealing with her, she was running for office leading up to, she had already started her campaign before she had decided to prosecute. So before all my friends were indicted, I'm making a phone call saying, "Hey, are you guys concerned at all about this?" And they're like, "Oh no, this is just her. She's just trying to posture for her campaign. She's just trying to win her campaign. We're not worried about it at all." But much like Letitia James, she ran on actually, quote, getting justice where Trump was concerned. Because remember, Mark Elias had already started the campaign. We got all of the news blasts that people just were not paying attention to because no one in mainstream covered it. But the news blast was these guys immediately after January 20th were going for all of the swing states and anyone who had put together alternate slates. Yep. And they were enlisting all of these DAs, right, in these blue cities. So I'm like, oh, shit, they're coming for everybody. So I start dialing for all my friends. I'm like, you guys worried? And they weren't. And every last one of them, down to literally the most saintly person you would ever meet in politics, David Schaefer, who's standing there smiling in his mugshot and he looks like a little boy on Christmas who's been busted stealing cookies before Santa Claus got there, right? And he's like, "Damn, Monica, you were right." I'm like, I'm telling you, I know how they operate. They're coming for blood.
Yeah, well, and when Elias is involved, that's when they should have been paying attention. I mean, this is what I try to talk about a lot. Like Elias and Norm Eisen, those two, when they started getting involved, those are the lawfare dogs. I mean, they really are. They're the lawfare dogs. I mean, they sit on Obama's lap like toy poodles. I mean, they really do. I mean, that's who these people are. They do whatever he says, and they have built a full empire based around this. In fact, there's a friend of mine that was doing a report on this. I wonder whatever happened. I need to talk to her. I don't know if you guys know who Asa Namani is. She's an investigative journalist out of D.C., but she was doing a lot of work on, and she actually had something she was going to put out on Elias, but she said she had to get it sent through legal at Fox, and my guess is that they were like, no. That's if I had to take a wild guess, that's probably what happened. They probably just said straight up no. But I think it was a really good report, and I think she should have put it out. So maybe I'll talk to her. I haven't talked to her in a couple weeks. I'll see what she has to say about it. But, that's the kind of stuff that should happen.
Walter, you also remember that the White House and the Attorney General were directly communicating and coordinating with, this is what had come out post-White House, that the White House was directly communicating with Fonnie Willis's office.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just Fonnie, though. It was everywhere. I mean, Jack Smith had people straight out of the White House that was working with these people. And we know this. I mean, there's a reason that they brought Jack Smith forward. And I talk about this a lot because people don't know a lot about Jack Smith. But for those who don't know, I have a special disdain for Mr. Jack Smith for a specific reason, because he's the one who went after Bob McDonnell, which is Bob McDonnell's former governor of Virginia. He went after him, and he went after him hard to the point that they essentially ruined his entire political career, only to take it all the way up to the Supreme Court to get a 9-0 decision. 9-0. And in the opinion, Roberts said this man's interpretation is so perverse and so stupid, essentially. I mean, it was much kinder legalese than this, but essentially he said this guy is so dumb that if his interpretation of the law was to move forward, you could prosecute any public official for doing anything almost at any time. The funny thing about the interesting thing about that is if you go look in the way that he did the language against President Trump, it's the same language. It's almost the exact same language. It's just a slight twist on it. So it was almost the same prosecution, which is why they were desperately trying to keep him from getting that up to the Supreme Court, because they would have slapped that down immediately again, because Roberts does not like Jack Smith. But the reason that they used him, the reason they used Jack Smith in the first place, is because Jack Smith already had that record taint. Okay, so he already had that stain on his record of a 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court and a opinion written about him and how bad his opinion was. That right there is the only reason they use Jack Smith, which is why Jack Smith is a scumbag. I mean, he's just all he is a lawfare hound. They released a hound. They were intending to use him, and they didn't care, and it didn't matter because his reputation already sucked. That's why I always thought it was so funny when I heard everybody saying, oh, he's the best. He's this incredible lawyer. You know, Jack Smith is going to get him. Like, no, Jack Smith is a scumbag. And he always was a scumbag. He is a dirtbag lawyer that had already been slapped down by the Supreme Court because he went after the Republicans in Virginia, and he ruined Bob McDonnell's career. He really did. Bob McDonnell, and it was all over, like, I can't even remember what the charge was. It was like he went to dinner somewhere or something. Like, it was something absurd. Maybe it was a watch. I think it was a watch. There was some watch or something that somebody gave him, and they claimed that was, proof of bribes and stuff like that. I mean, it was absurd. It was a completely absurd case, and it got slapped down so badly that Jack Smith should have never been able to practice law anywhere in the country ever again, which is why they sent him to The Hague. And now then he returns for what? Only to go after President Trump. I mean, that really is how bad it was. Dusty, get your hand up. What's up?
What's up, brother, man? Hello, everybody. I'm just afraid that this is only the beginning, and we're going to be playing retard whack-a-mole for like the next few years. And I don't know if anybody's excited about that, but I kind of am.
Well, listen, retard whack-a-mole is never going to end, okay? There are always going to be endless stupid people put into office, unfortunately. Like I said earlier, we are not a serious country right now because the people that the Democrats are intending to put into office are all like Fonnie Willis. I mean, you've got Letitia James, you got Fonnie Willis. Just go back and look. You remember Kamala Harris's book tour, how beautiful that was. Her wandering around Howard University and that great video that I put up on the screen for everybody, if everyone remembers this, where she literally could not walk. She was being carried, essentially. She's, oh, my God, you guys are the future of all leadership in the country. And I just always remember that, oh, my God, woman, this is the former vice president, nearly president of the country. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how horrible that would have been? I don't even want to think about it. Like, I mean, everyone's wondering, oh, Trump's not doing a great job. Remember where your other option was, people. Please, for the love of God, keep that in mind. Like, things may not be perfect, but good Lord, they have been bad.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Monica, but wasn't she a sorority sister with Fonnie Willis?
I think so.
Oh, my God, please tell me that's true. Please tell me it's all the same sorority.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit.
I'm going to look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure they're both deltas. Hold on, I'm going to look it up.
Oh, Christ.
I think it was I think it was that ABC reporter, if you remember from that ABC debate.
Listen, if they're all in the same sorority, then this sorority needs to be investigated. Like, I mean, this is just this is a plight upon the country that just needs to be shut down immediately. I mean, that explains so many of our problems. If part of the reason is that we've got what now?
You know who would actually know the answer to this? Millie Weaver.
I mean, but we can probably figure this out pretty quickly if we just Google it. And I'm sure that there's, it's a very exclusive club. It includes Kamala Harris, Letitia James, and Fonnie Willis. If they're all in the same sorority together, that's going to be absurd.
So Fonnie's a delta. So let me look up Letitia.
I'm pretty sure that is. I'm almost positive that's all the same then. So if they all are part of the same sorority, then this explains our problems. Our country was nearly run into the ground by a group of moronic sorority sisters. Thank God. Jesus. What a disaster zone. Well, amazing stuff.
Part of that, Walter, is that it's the blood oath agreements that people take, right? And it's so there's not really a need for actual monetary reparations because you have reparations going on every level, whether it's judiciary, it's in medicine, etc. And it's maddening, especially I live in the civil rights capital of the country. And we are more divided now than we ever have been. And primarily because you do have people in positions of power who have never sought unity per se or even equality, right? And so it's all about separation and division. It's very disheartening here. But But I've also always said that there's a quote gentleman's agreement here that Black Americans can have the municipality here, and white Americans are, whether they're Democrat or Republican, are going to maintain the strongholds of the governor's mansion. And people don't like to hear that, but it's true. That's exactly what goes on, which is why the Republicans cede so much power to blacks in the municipal positions, and everybody's busy. I mean, you have to know from one administration to the next, Republicans are assisting with particular Democrat nominees because they have to make sure the next person coming in is formidable enough to keep the bodies buried. And unfortunately, we're equally to blame on the right side of the aisle.
So she was, so Kamala was a Alpha Kappa Alpha, but the Deltas named her into the Divine Nine. And when every year in office, she's given a speech to the Deltas at their national.
Hold on. What is
conference.
the Divine Nine? Do I even want to know?
Is what Monica's referencing.
Holy shit. There's a
Yeah,
Divine
the
Nine.
Divine
Black Girl
Nine was pretty
Magic
bad.
Club.
It's
The Black Girl Magic Club. Oh,
It is a thing. I'm not kidding. Like, look
Ugh.
up right now. Hashtag Black Girl Magic.
It's not just black girls; it's also the black boys in the. It's also a.
Listen to me. The Divine Nine is just too much for me. Okay, just the fact that it's even a name is just it's the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life. Now, by the way, so I went and looked into this. So apparently, they all attended Howard University. So that's the common link between all of them. Now they're not all in the same. They're not at all in the same. So Letitia was in Delta. Kamala Harris was in Alpha. But it doesn't say Fonnie Willis was in any of those sororities, but she did go to Howard University. So all of them went to the same university. So that's the common link of retardation between all of them. Now, whether or not they're all in the Divine Nine or something, who knows? But my goodness, just the fact that the Divine Nine is even a thing is too much for me.
Actually, Nathan Wade was also part of the Divine Nine.
Nathan Wade. Oh my God, the Divine Nine. These people.
It's a real deal, and I think. Again, I'm speculating here, and I got to do the research, okay? But I'm pretty sure. Oh my gosh, her sister was also. Not her. Whose sister was it? Yeah, I thought it was
Stacey Abrams. It was our governor. The fact that it was Stacey Abrams.
Oh yeah, that's right, Stacey. Now that wouldn't even surprise me if Stacey Abrams was also in the Divine Nine. Now she's the president of the universe, apparently. So.
Be like the Divine.
The head tank right there. The big set of tanks there, sir.
Oh, Jesus. How do we have this in our country? I mean, these are the people that are in charge. I mean, just the crash out to me was just too much. Just why are you doing all this? Oh Lord. Oh God.
So Jasmine Crockett, Nancy Pelosi, and Maxine Waters in there, and the View, all the View, just dump them all together. You want to talk about a bitch fest?
Well, listen. The View is another one of those organizations or one of those institutions that no one pays any attention to anymore because they're so comically stupid. But these people all hold
They
public
even
office.
made fun of it on Landman.
Yeah, they did make fun of it on Landman, which they melted down about already.
Liz
which is
Cheney
great.
and Meghan McCain in there too. Why not?
Well, listen. One thing I would say about the McCains and Liz Cheney and all these people is like people likes to hate on them a lot, but they're not nearly as stupid as the people from the Divine Nine. I promise you that. That's not even close to the level of stupidity. I've never seen Meghan McCain come on and say, "Now listen here, you don't understand." That doesn't happen, okay? And you can say what you want about the McCains, okay? So complain about them all you want, but they still actually held pretty significant political power and were reasonably competent while they were in charge when they were doing it. You may not like John McCain, and I'm not a huge fan of the guy. The one incident that I have reference from him is, his temper was something of legend. I mean, to be honest with you, he really was legendary and how pissed off he could get.
Or Romney.
Yeah,
either Romney too.
Well, again, being mad about them is not the same thing as looking at the level of incompetence that exists in places like Fonnie Willis's position. I mean, this is legendary stuff here. Amazing. Well, the only place that currently is going out further than that is obviously Brown. Brown University is currently topping the list on incompetence right now. I mean, this is incredible. We are now Thursday's coming up in an hour, and we still don't even have the name of the suspect from a mass shooting. Wow.
Walter, I have the name.
Oh, you have the name.
I have not the name of the shooter, no, but since we pivoted back to this topic, I have the Latino gentleman's name.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
His name, he's from Rhode Island Latino Public Radio. His name, and by the way, shout out to Brady J. Holt at Brady J. Holt. His BH is his name, logo, or whatever. But it's Radio Latino Public Radio. Oh, I'm sorry, Rhode Island Latino Public Radio. I can get this out of my mouth. Reynaldo Almonte.
Reynaldo Almonte.
The purple thread. And someone tagged him when they heard him, and they said, "Is that Reynaldo Almonte?" And so someone that knows Reynaldo tagged him, and it's
so he has an X profile then.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. Well, it said his name, but it actually does. The handle is at LPR News Noticias Reynaldo Almonte, longtime political reporter.
What's his ad handle again? Let me type this in.
Well, this is the Latino Public Radio station. It's LPR News. That's the handle. Providence, Rhode Island. It's the Latino Public Radio.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go. I see. Just only got a couple hundred followers on here. But like, listen to me. I just was hoping we could figure out how to get this guy on the show. Looks like he's not very active on X, seeing how the last time he did something is he reposted something from 2021. So my guess is he doesn't check his X very often. But I'll see if I can get a hold of him, guys, because, I mean, to me, I just want to see that guy he was just grilling them. And I'd love to see that guy, if we could get him to talk on here, we could get him to fill us in on what he was talking about. Because if it's true that they've been covering up footage and whatnot, that is, keeping illegal aliens from ICE and whatnot, and that's what they've been doing on Brown campus, that is a massive scandal, and that's a huge part of this. And that's also probably why they're covering up half the other things, because they're all implicated then. That's big. That's big news. So I'd love to talk to Reynaldo. And again, that sounds to me like if it's Luis Hernandez or Reynaldo Almonte, whatever that is, either of those people, that sounds like, those sounds like two strong Latino names. We need to get them in here. We need to talk to them. They sound like they're interesting guys. So maybe we'll get a hold of them.
Check this out. It makes sense that there's a Latino public radio channel, because in Rhode Island, the Latino population in Providence, Rhode Island makes up around 43 to 44% of the city's residents. Roughly 84,000 people identify as Hispanic or Latino.
Interesting. Didn't know that. I didn't know Rhode Island was Latino state. That's hysterical to me.
Representation from Dominicans and Puerto Ricans.
Rhode Island, the Hispanic capital of the Northeast. Who knew? I certainly didn't. That's amazing stuff, guys. And Colombians. I love it, guys.
But Walter, we have found our connection.
Oh, maybe that's true.
Police was from Medellin, Colombia.
Oh, maybe we've got a Colombian drug feud happening, like on the stage here. I mean, that's what's going on. You never know.
If it is being alleged that they turned off the cameras, or they had the cameras turned off to protect Latinos from ICE, if that's what's being alleged, it would make sense that a Colombian chief of police from Medellin, Colombia, who came when he was a teenager to Rhode Island, in a population of 43 to 44% Latino, it would make sense that we would be seeing what we're seeing. And it also makes sense why he's speaking Spanish in some of these press conferences, which is wild. I mean, like, I would have never guessed that the population was that large in Providence, Rhode Island.
Well, I mean, someone just made the comment here that I didn't know that Springfield was a Haitian paradise either. And I agree. Yeah, I didn't know that either until a year or two ago when 30,000 of them showed up in my friggin' city. Well, anyway, guys, I need to shut down early tonight because I have to be up very early for my flight out to AmFest. So, guys, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurd. Make sure you guys follow all my hosts up here. I've got Monica Matthews on air up here. Make sure you guys follow her. She's great. She has a great show. She used to have her own show. Now she runs her own media networks. Make sure you guys follow her. Make sure you guys follow all my hosts up here. Subscribe to the people up here on stage if they have the ability to be subscribed to. Jacktron has the ability to be subscribed to. I don't know if Chris does, but anybody else up here that has subscriptions available, make sure you guys follow them. And you guys go to WCDispatch.com. That's the best place you can follow this show. The live video version of the show is always on WCDispatch.com at 9 p.m. on weeknights. Now, tomorrow, because I will be at AmFest, the show will be at a different time. I haven't even figured out when I'm going to do it because I don't know when I'm going to get off a plane. I don't know when I'm going to get to the, through the registration process, but I will be on at some point tomorrow. It'll probably be only on the live video version tomorrow. I probably won't have an X space up because I can't carry, 6 laptops, 4 computers. Like I can't bring all this stuff with me. So it'll probably just be either live video or just live on the X Space. That'll be the version that we do tomorrow. But I will talk to you guys as soon as I can tomorrow afternoon live from AmFest, guys. So I will see you guys tomorrow night, or I will see you guys sometime tomorrow afternoon. And have a good evening, guys. And we will see you guys next time on the theater. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised heirs, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Yes, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.